Kia ora, my name is Natalie and I'm a mediator here at Together Apart Family Solutions. Now, people often ask me what to expect when they come to mediation, so I thought I'd make this little video and talk you through what an average mediation process might look like. Now, first and foremost, I want to say it is really important to me to work with every individual family and make sure that the process is suited to what they need. So there may be variations to what I'm about to talk you through based on the individual conversations we might have, but this at least gives you a bit of a general overview of how the process might work. So the first thing that will happen once someone comes to me for mediation is that I will arrange meetings with each of the parents individually, and we will have a really good conversation about where things are at and what you would like out of mediation. So that might include, first of all, the children, how they are doing, what they're up to, what they might like to have happen in the situation. It will also include where you as a parent are at, what you might like, what might work for you. We'll talk a little bit about the history of the relationship and how the separation has worked out so far, and any other topics that are important to discuss in the lead up. Now, I won't share any of the information from that conversation in the mediation meeting. It just helps me get a bit of a better understanding of where your family is at this point. Once I've talked to both parties, and sometimes there may be a second individual meeting depending on where people are at, but once I feel that you're ready to move on to mediation, I will arrange a joint shared mediation meeting with myself and the two parents. Sometimes there might be some support people present as well, again, depending on what we've discussed in the lead up. And then the meeting can begin. Now, my role in this part of the mediation process is not to give you any advice or to make any decision for you or to tell you what to do in any way. It is simply to facilitate a conversation between the two of you as parents. So the best way to think of mediation is really as a conversation or a negotiation between the two parents. The beauty of that is that you don't need to convince me of anything. It's simply a matter of speaking with each other about your needs, your requirements, what you think is best for the children, and then having a conversation about that. So the first thing that will happen during the meeting is that I will ask each parent what it is they want to discuss, and we'll make a list of discussion topics for the day, a bit of an agenda. Once the agenda is set, then I more or less get out of the way and will make space for the two of you to work through the agenda items in any order that seems useful to you. Now, I often find that people find it most helpful to start with the easier topics and then move on to the more difficult ones. But it really is up to you how you want to run that part of the process. During this part of the conversation, some of the things that you might see me do is I will ask some clarification questions. If I feel that maybe something that was being said is not quite clear or ambiguous, I'll make sure that it's clarified. I often slow the conversation down, which really frustrates people at times. I want to make sure that everything that is being said is heard and received by the other parent. And another thing I will do is I'll move the conversation on if it starts going around in circles. All right. Once you have talked about all the topics on your agenda, we'll take a break, and I often check in with each of the parents individually again at that point to see how things have gone so far, whether there is anything else you would like to discuss, anything you would like changed, or basically where you're at that point in the process. And then when we come back together, the second part of the mediation is a bit like a line in the sand. From where on we no longer discuss the issues, the agenda items as such, but we're moving into like a brainstorming space. So coming up with ideas and solutions of what might meet the needs of everyone in that situation. From there, we explore each of those ideas in more detail and try to figure out what might actually work for the two of you. And once you've reached an agreement around any of those ideas, we can record that in what's called a parenting agreement. Now, a parenting agreement is first and foremost a private agreement between two parties, two individuals. And you can use that as a reference for the two of you to come back to when there is anything not clear about what is going to happen with regard to the care of the children. Now, some people would like another layer of enforceability at this point, and you do have the opportunity to go to the family court and apply for what's called a consent order. What that means is that the court will take your agreement and effectively turn it into a court order, making it as enforceable as any other court order. And that gives you an added layer of reassurance. I will talk to you in more detail about what that involves and what the pros and cons of doing that might be in the situation. Now, sometimes people don't come to an agreement, or they come to a partial agreement, and if that is the case, I will talk you through what your options are from there in detail, so that you can walk away from the meeting knowing exactly what to do next, or at least you know about your options and you can make a decision. I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of what to expect during a mediation meeting. I will be putting up some additional videos over time going into more detail of some of the elements, but this is just as a general overview. Contact me if you have any questions whatsoever. I'm really happy to speak on the phone and answer any questions you may have.